Welcome to DAO Deep Dives, where we interview DAO founders, core DAO contributors, and everyone else who works on the periphery of decentralized autonomous organizations.
All right, good morning, guys. We have another episode of DAO Deep Dives today with Chris from Console. Very exciting product. I personally cannot wait to learn more. Hi, Chris. Hey, Saul.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks.
It's a Friday morning, and we're thankful for you taking some time for us to tell us a little bit more about Console. But before we get there, who are you, Chris? What's going on? What are you doing in this world?
Yeah, my name's Chris. Most people call me Castig on Twitter and all that. Yeah, I am building Console. Console is chat for Web3. I'm also an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School, and I've been in startups and I guess Web2 world for about the past decade. So doing different things.
Awesome. Yeah, so your product isn't necessarily a DAO. This is a show about DAOs. We also cover a lot of DAO tooling platforms and all sorts of things, which I think maybe Console falls under, at least for a single use case. And so let's just talk about DAOs just a little bit from your own interpretation, not the literal definition. From you working in the space, have you been able to boil down, what DAOs are, maybe from your own perspective, and want to shed some light on that?
Yeah, what a great topic. I feel like it's somewhat perhaps controversial, perhaps undiscovered territory. I feel like there's a lot going on, and the definition of DAO has changed a lot in the past few years, year over year. So it's a great question, I think, to keep exploring, because to me, I think the vision of a DAO, the way it's defined right now, tends to be people working together, often strangers, to come together and coordinate and have some shared ownership of a project. And I think of Constitution DAO as one of the first ones, but really I think these days I'm part of ENS DAO, Orange DAO, different communities where there's people coming together, voting, and having some kind of ownership tends to be the theme. I guess I'll say that I think that's how I understand it. And I also feel like pretty strongly at this moment that there's like some strong pluses and strong minuses of this. Like I think I've been in a lot of DAOs that have just like tanked and been a mess. So I feel like this definition will continue to evolve, and I could say a lot more about it. But I think we're still learning, I think is maybe my point of, I think that's the definition, but I could really see it evolving over time. And I think that's part of what Console is about, actually, is like supporting the evolution of Web3 communities, understanding that what we define these things as today isn't the way it's going to be in 5 years. And we want to be agile and be able to grow with Web3.
So with your interpretation of DAOs, what is Console and how does it fit into that?
Yeah, Console is chat for Web3 communities, which includes DAOs. So the idea with Console is Discord sucks and is really awful. And myself, the reason I'm in Web3 and the reason I think you guys and a lot of people are in Web3 is we have this vision of a better internet in the future and really just a better world. Like we're the digital world. We can come collaborate. We can have user-owned assets, whether it's Bitcoin or NFTs or shares in a DAO. We see how these experiments can be better for society. And in order for these experiments to work and to run them and to build this potentially better society, we need certain principles in the products we're building. And those principles, which Web3 talks about a lot, are decentralization of tech, of organization, decentralization, open source code, user ownership of assets that we can freely use and transfer portably across these different apps. This stuff gets talked about all the time. And the thing that was really painful to me, and a lot of people I think as well, is that this is all happening on Discord and Telegram to some extent. And Discord was made for gamers, and they have no intention of really following any of these principles to make a better internet on decentralization, open source, and all these Web3 principles. So it just seemed obvious to me that there's an opportunity to do things right. I think it's a difficult choice, but if we can do things right and think more long-term, we could have a home or for these communities, for our DAOs, on a platform that really respects the things that we're fighting for and the things that we're building. And so that is Console. It was just like chat would be the first step of a way to bring people together, uniting around these Web3 principles and then helping those communities thrive and build by being agile and supportive of all the console communities.
All right, so you dropped the hammer there. The big name here is in communication tools for Web3, I think, is Discord to this day. We all love it and hate it. I hate it a little more than I love it these days, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But it's what we have, right? There isn't too much else that is better yet. Console being on the track to be that alternative, and I love it. I had a sneak peek on the product so far. I can't wait to use it more. But you know what? The first question which naturally pops in my mind, I think one of the reasons why Discord is so painful is because it's just overload, right? There's millions of channels, literally millions of channels at this point, even if you're just in a handful of Discords, and a handful in Web3 means 50 pretty easily, right? Very quickly, if you're interested in a lot of products. Give us your vision for console, and how do you avoid becoming hated? How do you not become Discord?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sure Discord didn't want to be hated when they started. And Discord is great for a lot of things. It's one of the only apps where you can bring together a lot of strangers in one place and start chatting and start a conversation. And for the gaming world, the way Discord is designed, it makes a lot of sense. The UI, the user interface of Discord. So for example, like there's not really threads on Discord, or nobody really uses threads. You just reply and things go, and things just this endless stream of text. And that's great when you're real-time gaming. It's not great if you're a DAO and you're talking about a vote that needs to happen and you need to get people's consensus or vote on it or feedback. Information gets lost, right? And with console, we're putting the user's focus as a key value prop for why you would use console, because we want to help people find the information they need, focus and build trust in these communities, and to do that just like in a smooth, easy way. And so we're just thinking about a different problem than Discord is thinking about. And so we have features that will really help. So threads, for example, like Slack, we have threads so that you can have deeper dives into any conversation. We have user profiles, so you can click on someone and see their on-chain history, their off-chain history. That's a really easy way to build trust. On Discord, if someone just jumps in the Cabin DAO, the Discord, you don't know immediately, did that person just create that account 10 minutes ago? Or is this like a moderator? You can see if it's a moderator. Is this somebody who's like really active in the community, like actually has reputation and stuff like that? Like these are the things that we think DAOs and Web3 communities can really benefit from, and we hope people love.
You guys have raised some money already, and can you tell us just a bit about that, where you're at with fundraising?
Yeah. Console is a subsidiary of Trust Machines. Basically, how that works is Trust Machines is essentially like the consensus company of Bitcoin. It's supporting the growth of apps and protocols that are helping to grow the Bitcoin ecosystem. Console started in the Bitcoin ecosystem with stacks and are still working with ordinals and a few other Bitcoin projects. But we are multi-chain on Ethereum, Polygon, all the different, help to expand to different chains. But because of our roots in starting with Bitcoin and stacks, and also our vision that we think Web3 on Bitcoin over the next year is just going to, it's already exploding with ordinals and stamps and all stuff, but we really see that growing. And yeah, for that reason, Trust Machines is very interested in participating in our growth and funding. And so Trust Machines, as a parent company, last year they raised $150 million to support their vision. And so we essentially get a carve out of that budget, basically, like kind of like an incubator, and then the potential that console would spin out at some size.
So this is not a usual founder story necessarily, I think, and I want to double click on that because in Web3 there's very few very usual founder stories in Web3, I feel like. But Tell us a little bit more about how you became a subsidiary of that and how that kind of all happened. Is that an option entrepreneurs should think about, or was that just because of the world you were exposed of before? How does that happen?
Man, if I was giving advice to an upcoming entrepreneur and I had to look at my own, like we could say successes with quotes around it, I think things that would, yeah. The real truth is I think sometimes the biggest important things that like have happened in my life, they aren't like I could tell you and then they're not repeatable. I feel like the theme is just like being in the right place at the right time and surrounding yourself by good people. So for example, even when I got into Y Combinator with my last company, that was just like a pet project we were doing, and we applied, and I just had some really smart friends that were supporting it, and it just was the right place at the right time. It was an education company for coding, and but I couldn't be like, hey, do these things. This is how you apply. People always ask me, how do you apply to Y Combinator? And there's tips, you know what I mean? And there's definitely tips, but it's just the right place at the right time. And I feel like the same thing with starting Console. The way it started was I had been really active in both the Stacks ecosystem and the Ethereum ecosystem since about like 2016, 2017, and mostly just from being in New York and going to meetups and just having friends and just double clicking. And there was a Blockstack summit, which I think will go down in history in 2017 as being like, I want to say like the place Web3 started, because it was this meeting in San Francisco at the Computer History Museum, and every single person who became somebody in Web3 was there. There was like Balaji was there, Naval was there, I don't know, Kevin Rose. It was like every single person was at this thing, and we were talking about the future of a user-owned internet. And then right from there, everybody started to go off in their own directions, like building different things. And I used to just like tried to be as curious about that world as possible and learn as much as possible. And I think when the time came to build Console, I was just like really just into it. And so I think the offer to work with Trust Machines, yeah, I think I just had some experience building companies in the past. And I think I was just super curious about Web3, but hadn't done any work in Web3. But it just seemed an opportunity I pitched Console and was able to secure funding for it and grow. But yeah, it's hard to say that. I don't know, I'm a teacher as well. So I try to think of what we can share with the audience and people to help other people along. And I don't know the real takeaway, but that was my journey. And I just feel really grateful and lucky that I'm able to build Console.
I gotcha. It almost sounds like dating a little bit. When you're looking, you're not going to find her or him. But there's flaws in this analogy, right? Startup and funding, it's not exactly the same, but I like to believe that there are similarities, because you just need to surround yourself with good people. You need to be happy with what you're doing, passionate about what you're doing, right? Like happy with yourself from a dating perspective. And then the other things will fall in place, versus if you're trying to force anything, project you're not very passionate about, it's not going to happen. By doing what you love, you will attract others and maybe funding.
I truly believe that. I think the dating analogy is perfect. And I think that's what we're looking for now as we're hiring as well. So if anyone listening is a dev, especially React Native or full stack, we're looking for devs, and we get lots of applications. The best people that I tend to hire in the past are people that either come from referrals. So again, having a strong network of just working with people and having good relationships, referrals, or people who are just like deep in doing this already. If you're already like spending your weekends like learning how to use the Ordinals API or like building little chatbots or whatever, I'm like, wow, you care about this already. It's less compelling if you're like, I've been at Google for 7 years and I just applied on your website and I don't really know what Console is. I'm going to take an interview. And I get a lot of those at a startup stage. I think just like referrals and like showing that you have some like fortitude to just like care about the problem. That's really, I guess, like my best advice for anyone. And I would love to meet those people. So reach out.
Yes, please do. And I couldn't agree more on this. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of the concept of DAOs, because a lot of these communities have that naturally evolve, right? It's like you jump in a community and prove yourself, you show your interest, not necessarily even prove yourself, but you just participate. You talk to people, you do things, and therefore build that relationship you may have not had before. I'm curious, with Console right now is a product company, right? For the lack of a better word. Are you guys toying at all with the idea to become a DAO potentially in the future? Or rather stay a startup?
That's a great question. I think that initially our Twitter handle is Console DAO at Console DAO. So when we started, I think that is in the future, and I think it just depends like what that means to us. We want to have an opportunity for our users, especially early users, to have some kind of upside or skin in the game or ownership of some of the assets. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, so no promises there. But I think that is the intention. We do plan to open source our code, and so we want to encourage apps to build freely on top of Console. And so I think, to me, I feel pretty strongly that DAOs become just the next wave of open source communities, because we've seen what we call DAOs now. We've seen it a lot. If you look to the Linux community or the WordPress community, we've seen these communities where people collaborate and build together. And oftentimes there is some benevolent dictator, they call it, and there's some person who like had the idea, but they don't like own it. And I think what DAOs add to that model is ownership of the people that developed Linux, right? Like Linus, and no one really owns that code, but they all contributed to it. They all have some ownership, like in the sense of like commits or some kind of like sense of worth of on the resume. There's, hey, I have some ownership in this project, but you don't like own the assets of it. I think that's the key missing thing that open source lacks. And in the way that Mark Andreessen once said, software is eating the world. You probably heard that before. I think open source software will eat commercial software as well. And I think DAOs are a big part of that mission of just things are going to continue to be more open. And I think people will gravitate towards those projects. So we're seeing it with, I think, ENS now and open source projects. Smart contracts are open. I think that this is going to accelerate. And so to the degree that trend continues, like Console, we want to just participate in those values of having as many people collaborate, give ownership where we can, potentially voting, and and just live that ethos. But I think it's going to be a gradual move in that direction for us.
Awesome. Let's talk about Bitcoin a bit more. I think people and some of our listeners maybe are in shock. Just like there's DeFi on Bitcoin, there's like other stuff. And being someone that's been into Bitcoin for a long time, it's something I've anticipated, right? And so has everybody else that's working in the space. It was always a plan to build additional layers on top of layer one. How has it been working with the Bitcoin community? And obviously you're building a product that's like cross communities here. How's it been working in the Bitcoin community? Can you shed some light on any cool stuff happening?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Console is chat for Web3. And as part of that, we have many Ethereum communities, and then we also have Bitcoin communities. As far as the Bitcoin communities go, I think one of the ethos of Console is just pushing power to the community leaders that want to run the community. So in that way, what I'm trying to say is I'm fairly neutral, because I realize it can get contentious pretty quickly. Are you guys Ethereum? Are you guys Bitcoin? Are you guys Bitcoin Maxi? Or are you like L2 Bitcoin? We're just really just trying to like make it easier to use these tools and then let the communities build how they want to build. So far, what we've seen is a big kind of rise around the Bitcoin L2s, specifically Stacks communities have been really eager, because the Stacks communities, they're really open. They're like very open-minded to the idea of building DAOs on Bitcoin, of building DeFi on Bitcoin, NFTs on Bitcoin. And they've been like pushing that for about a year or two now. So as we're seeing Ordinals launch this year, and ERC20, I'm not really sure. There's like a lot of things just over the past few weeks that have like really gotten a lot of attention. There's just been excitement by these communities to experiment with that. I think everyone's been really friendly so far. I am curious about what we call the maxi crowd, happy to support, like I said, happy to just support anyone that wants to come to Console. We are launching a project that will be very like Bitcoin. I don't know. Is maxi the right word? I don't know. I don't even know if they want to be called that, but just very Bitcoin native in the next few weeks. And it will be a project that it'll be a Console community that requires you to own one full Bitcoin. It's a full coiner community. So you need to have one full Bitcoin in order to join the chat. And the hope there is to just align. It has network state origins, I would say, of, okay, it's like a rally of let's get together the people that really believe in having skin in the game of creating this Bitcoin economy. And I think they have plans in that chat and community to build a news network on ordinals and maybe perhaps a DAO around like the network state. Again, it's not my community, but we're helping to build it. And these are the kind of things that, like, again, I think Console is really well positioned to do, because when they came to us, we were like, oh yeah, like this is awesome. Let's help you do that. And I don't think you could ever do that with Discord. I just don't even think it would be possible. Yeah.
Yeah, whole coiner. So that's cool. So is there like a whole coiner like token gate situation? Yeah, specifically for that you've helped them build.
Yeah.
That's so rad. Dive a little bit deeper into how Console differs from Discord, like a few key differentiators, because these things that you're saying, the ethos of Discord isn't really catering to Web3, for example. So Console will be, but what does that really mean as far as like features go? And then if you could touch on just like how much, if at all, you've thought about account abstraction and the ability for people that aren't really Web3 native to step into Console as maybe their introduction to maybe a DAO for the first time, and their experience. How are you really thinking about that?
So Console is different than Discord in a lot of ways, but I would say the first way that people will experience Console and I think have a really just like genuinely happy moment will just be the onboarding experience, just logging in for the first time. When you come to Console right now, you have to use your wallet login in order to log in. We have Wallet Connect, we have MetaMask, we have Rainbow, all the Stacks, Heroes wallets. We have 30 wallets, but whatever wallet of your choice. So it is for Web3 natives right now, but you could just click to enter. And then as soon as you use your wallet to enter, you're able to choose any of your on-chain data, your NFTs as your avatar. If you have an ENS name, a .eth name, it's really easy to just select that, or a .btc name, or essentially like all of these things that we're building here, these little Lego pieces of protocols and stuff. It's like, we just want to make that easy to use. And I think that's the first really happy moment where you're just like, oh, you just connect your wallet, you choose your NFT, you're in the community. Really easy. From the perspective of onboarding with communities, what we've heard, the founder of Nakamoto is a community that is sending $1 million of Bitcoin on a SpaceX rocket to the literal moon. And they're doing some scavenger hunt, and they have a community on Console where they have minted their NFT, and they have some token gated rooms and like games and stuff to get through the levels. And it's really interesting. And from their perspective, they came to us because to quote them, they said, if I want to set up a Discord now, it's going to take my dev like 10 hours to set up all of the different plugins you need to do token gating, to do all the stuff. And with Console, you just get that out of the box. So for them, it was just really easy to launch Console. And also we have, in addition to just chat, we have ways that the Nakamoto community can learn about the project before they even join the community. We have pages, like web pages, that you can token gate or make public. Videos, so they have videos they share. They basically have a homepage. Their homepage for the project is at Console. And so it's a lot more than Discord. Discord's only chat, but in addition to that, we have these pages, we have events, we have profile pages for everybody. And I think we're really just trying to build out this home that feels like a trusted place for your community. So I'd say that's one of the things I love most at the moment, that I think is really that people are loving. But yeah, to your point, account abstraction, right? How do we make this easier for people, I guess, is like what I'm hearing. Right now, Console is for Web3 native people, but we really want to branch out. And how many people are in the world? Like probably 8.99999 billion people. Like the whole rest of the world is not in Web3. I think for Web3 to be successful, it's only successful if we upgrade the internet for everybody, if the spirit experience of ownership and decentralization is used for everybody. And I would love for Console to be part of that experience for people. So we want to make it easier to bring people onto Console. And yeah, we're thinking a lot about that. Yeah, happy to double click more on that. But I think to just answer your question to the point, yes, that's like huge. And I think a lot of projects should be caring more about that, because I think it's way too difficult to use a wallet these days. And I think it limits a lot of people's ability to get into the space.
Yeah, I love that you're not only thinking about onboarding from the technical perspective, but also really what does onboarding mean for communities and how can you aid that, right? You kind of explained that a little bit. So for everyone who is frustrated with that experience, which I'm sure you have gone through in one or two communities before, it's hard. It's hard for communities managers to do that. And when I saw Console first, I think it's such a simple thing, right? Like that homepage, which you can customize with kind of the first 5 things you should read, because that's ultimately what everyone has, right? So there is the Discord, then there's start here, read this Notion document, go to this Google document. Just make that ever so slightly more user friendly, and it's a huge lift. It's just all of these little pieces which we have been bitching about for the last 3 years in this space. Finally, someone's just doing it. It's mind-boggling.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, so that and the token gating being built in. Oh my God, like with Guild XYZ and Collab Land, like every time, just the friction, right? What is the first thing we get taught as entrepreneurs? Eliminate friction. Anyway, I'm ranting. So yeah, I love that. You're giving us some insight into that. Now let's go into the future. And from the video you have on YouTube, a little bit of a demo, there are a couple of things I saw, and I want to pick your brain on. And maybe that's a glimpse into the roadmap, because I saw like treasury, bounties, votes, these words on the menu floating around, inbox you talked about. What's coming? What's Console beyond chat as far as you can talk about it today?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, our roadmap and everything is on the website. There's an FAQ, and you can read all about how decentralized Console is, what's coming up next, all that kind of stuff. And if there's something on there that isn't answered, you can let me know. You can reach out right to me on Twitter @Castig. We also do a Twitter space every Monday at 5:00 Eastern Standard Time. We've been doing that pretty consistently for almost a year now. And so it's a great place to come and ask the question you asked. And I invite anyone listening right now, if you want to be part of the community or ask or share an opinion, I want you to support this chain, I want this feature. I think that's also part of being DAO-like, I think, is just like being available for the community and helping people build. And so, yeah, that's one way that we're building in public. It's just sharing all of this. So thanks for asking. And yeah, on our roadmap, I think right now our biggest thing I'm most excited about is the iPhone app. And we've been working on it for a while. And I think having a decentralized chat app in the iPhone store is going to be a really big unlock for communities. I know we have quite a wait list of communities, over 1,000 at this point, and many of them are waiting for the iPhone app. And we understand that, because it's just like such a need of communities. That will be coming out soon. I think the reason it's taken us so long is just we've had some interesting learnings as far as, I think, doing things right, as far as like building on using these decentralized tools with chat and making the latency, like the speed, quick enough so that it's a good experience. It's just been something we've been fine tuning. I feel like we're pushing the boundaries a bit, and I think it's really exciting. Really excited to bring that to people. Beyond that, you're totally right. Originally, when we built the prototype for Console, we had more DAO tooling in the original prototype. We had a treasury, which was Gnosis safe. It was basically just like Gnosis safe with a skin on it. And we had a voting mechanism, which was meant to be like Snapshot, basically. Since designing that, we've stepped a little bit back from the DAO tooling. And not that we think it's a great idea, but as I've mentioned, we want to open source the project and then just allow these apps to just build themselves instead of us doing it all. So we're really trying to provide the foundation. And token gating and chat are the two hardest things. So we said, let's do the two hardest things really well and then open that up so that other people can do what they do best and build on top of console. So I think there's a lot of room for all of those things to happen and more. And we're working toward that this year. It's just getting our chat and our token getting solid enough and our iPhone app solid enough so that we can allow more people to come in and build those things with us.
Okay. I love that. Focus, very important. Even though we are always looking for that, I guess what comes to mind in Web 2 is maybe click up, right? The one app to rule them all, I think they call themselves. But yeah, that's hard to do. And it's such a young space. This stuff is changing so fast. But what maybe one of the most important questions is, how do you start a community on console? Is that open today? If we want to start the DAO Deep Dives community on console tomorrow, how do we go about it?
Yeah. So for the longest time, we had an application on our website, and we may have recently removed that, but we had an application and we had almost 2,000 people apply. If you are listening and you're on that list, you will still be hearing from us soon, and we're just slowly letting people on in small batches, so a few at a time. And we just felt so overwhelmed with all the people that wanted to come on that we really wanted to do like a white glove experience where we like just focus on a few communities first, check in with them, help them grow, and then go a few every week. So that's been what we're working through right now, is this kind of backlog of communities. If you are listening and you want to be part of it, just message me on Twitter. That's what I'm doing now. I'm at Castig. It's CASTIG. Just DM me. We can chat about it for a second, and that will just help me help you get that set up.
Cool. Maybe I know you're not building a DAO specifically, but you're building something that many DAOs will surely be using, because there's definitely a demand and a need there. So you've thought about the industry and like where we're going, what the future not only of console is, but what's the future of DAOs? So if you were to 10x where we are from now, or maybe go 10 years in the future, is there something that comes to mind? Have you thought or maybe fantasized in some way about where the industry is at that point? What does it look like?
Yeah. I tend to think of it as ask myself, what are the principles of DAOs? What makes up a DAO? And then how might those become tools that the rest of the world uses? So, for example, I think the transparency and open collaborative nature of DAOs is really world changing. And I think that goes for open source as well. I've mentioned that's just going to continue to eat the rest of society. We are going to be pushed to be more transparent with data at the government level, at the company level. People are really going to want to have more of an insight into what's going on behind these companies. For example, looking at Twitter now, Elon Musk bought Twitter, and we're like slowly getting leaks sometimes of how Twitter works. There was this Twitter files thing, which showed us who was being banned and all this stuff. Meanwhile, on like a totally different planet, Nostra, which I'm obsessed with, is building this completely open protocol, like all in public, about how they're like recreating the internet in this most amazing way. And I think it's a no-brainer that Linux ate Microsoft used to basically have all the servers in the world, and Linux now has them all. WordPress ate the lunch of basically any blogging platform, or 40% of websites on the internet are WordPress websites. As well as users owning their own data is going to be what we're seeing with ZK technologies. It's just crazy that if I were to buy a house today, right, you have to give away every single piece of private information, social security number, every job you had. And then immediately after you go through that process, if you've done this, go Google yourself. You'll see that they've sold all that information, and it's like literally just on Google. Sometimes I'll put like fake information, not just because to obscure, just because I don't want to give out too much stuff. And you'll see like the fake information will just be reiterated. You'll be like, okay, yeah, I know what company did that, because I like seeded a little phrase in that. And I think a lot of these principles that DAOs are built on are adopted by the rest of society. And I guess that's as far as I can see. I don't know if they'll call them DAOs at that point. I just don't know. You know what I mean? Or it will just be that like the things that we love about DAOs get incorporated into winning positions in the world.
Yeah, and if you call them or not, like the principles we're in the early days today will do potentially big things. I think that's certainly, we believe in this, which is why we do this podcast.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite questions always is though, like, what's the craziest thing you can think of, which in your opinion should be a DAO or could be a DAO? And you can take this silly to the max or like super world changing, like society impacting, whatever you have, like awake at 2 a.m. or in the shower one time thought about is, that someone really should make this into a
Okay.
DAO.
The first thing that comes to mind, and I don't even know if this is possible. Like, I don't even know if this makes sense, but
That's exactly what we're looking for.
I think I kind of wish ownership of the ocean was a DAO. So, for example, the ocean is this thing that no country really owns. And so I think because we have no ownership of it, we don't respect it. Here's a question. What causes people to get involved in their like civil town meetings and go to community boards and vote and all this stuff? Home ownership. Because people own their home, they all of a sudden become like very interested in, zoning of this, taxes need to be this, we're going to build a Target or a school down the, all of a sudden they become very interested in community. And one of the things about building even just the idea of the United States, which is like crazy, right? It's this democratic idea back in the time of kings, was like, hey, we're going to let everybody vote. That was crazy only 200 years ago, right? But as part of holding up that idea of democracy, which is obviously then what the rest of the world tried to copy, it involves people need to be knowledgeable and active in their communities at the community level, at the federal level. And it seems like that is what's happening. Maybe you could say that is what happens, but it's not. Like, people are really tuned out. People vote based on tribalism more than on actually knowledge of the issues. But home ownership is like the one place where I think like I see a clear win, because people are like, oh, if I allow this chemical plant down the river, they could start to see the systems thinking. This chemical plant makes a paint, it's going to come down the river, my home value is going to go down, I need to become politically active. Why am I sharing this idea of home ownership? I think if we go to other assets, especially like the ocean, I think if we had ownership of it and we could see the degradation of it affect us in any way, I think we might in some ways become more aware of it. And I think if we're going to really evolve through and defeat the climate crisis, I think the ocean is like where we need to start, because we just keep dumping waste and killing all the species, basically. It's really bad. So that would be, I want an ocean DAO, I guess is my story.
Yes. So much yes.
I want to let everybody know that we didn't pay Chris any extra we didn't pay him at all, but we didn't pay him to say that with all of our deep dive ocean analogies that we like to throw around. You know what I mean? That's perfect.
I didn't even realize
I didn't realize
that.
it either. I love it though. That's great.
So much in love with that idea. My values very much align with that. And this may be, again, us being biased because we live in this world of thinking about these large societal changes, changing systems. But I could really see it, right? Like now, the first thing you ask yourself is like, how do you enforce that? But you enforce it yourself, right? Like, how do pirates enforce what they're doing? Basically, if Ocean DAO was the biggest organization ever conceived, then we'll enforce ownership of the ocean or preservation of the ocean, right? And I think there's probably quite a few DAOs actually we can look to rainforest preservation, right? There's a lot of things we actually do on land. And you're absolutely right. It's surprising that there isn't such a thing yet.
Maybe it's surprising that we haven't thought more deeply as a society and as a whole about this exact concept. So that's why this answer, I think, is just absolutely so fascinating. Exactly what the type of stuff we're trying to pull out of our guests. So I can't thank you enough for it. But the fact that it's not a DAO is definitely not surprising. But yeah, we're so futurist that of course we're gonna say something like that. You know?
Cool.
So as always, if anyone wants to take this up, do it. I would love to join.
Me too.
I'll be a member.
I will buy the ocean token, whatever it is, right?
Coming from 3 people on a call in landlocked states, you're not too. Us both live in the middle of the desert though, so that's kind of funny. Cool stuff.
Amazing. So this is really one of my favorite answers so far to this question because it's serious, but yet a bit ludicrous. I also want to thank you for being on the show today, sharing a bit of your thinking and your product, Console. I think you're working on really cool things. And again, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you both. This has been such a pleasure. Love what you guys are doing.
Awesome.
And that's a wrap. Sven and Solve are your hosts for DAO Deep Dives, a podcast about all things DAO. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time.